Welcome to the Mad Love Your Life show. I'm Mary D, the Joy Catalyst, here to be your host and transformation guide. Mad Love is about the mad, making a difference, and love is what we serve up to live a delicious life. My intention is to help you spark new ideas, break limiting beliefs, and align with your deepest dreams and desires. Get ready for laughter, inspiration, and finding your inner roar in every show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live show. Sorry, we're starting a little bit late today, but we're on it. Couple technical difficulties, but we're working through it. Just like anything that pops up in life, right? Sometimes our days don't always go as planned, and that's okay. We pivot, we move, we flow, and we don't let it wrinkle our panties. Just saying. All right. Today, my special guest is Amber Swenor, and Amber is a heart-centered, heavy metal business strategist, and it is a thing, and you're about to meet her. She is a literal rock star who has been helping purpose-driven leaders and teams unleash authentic success for 20 plus years. And as a business strategy consultant, transformational leadership coach, speaker, author, leadership and communications trainer and front person in her melodic metal band called Morningstar, she helps audiences understand that the key to unleashing success lies in embracing the authenticity of who they are and the impact they are here to make. Her work has helped her clients win big and create the dreams they've been dreaming, helping them improve team operations, increase revenue and profits, and even successfully exit businesses. This is about creating success that's authentic to them on their terms. She is the founder of Soul Seed Strategy, where their mission is to elevate conscious leaders and teams by helping them more effectively align their vision and values while also unleashing their brand voice and visibility. Her personal transformation and leadership book is called Unleashed, a been there, rocked that guide to radical authenticity in life and business. It's touched countless lives and has earned recognition as a Wall Street Journal bestseller and was also named most inspirational book of the year in 2023. Whether she is strategizing with clients or speaking on stages, Amber endeavors to help leaders utilize their own combination of skills, intuition, business savvy, and lived experiences to live their own purpose. I am so excited to interview Amber today because she is literally a rock star, y'all. I'm not even kidding, like literal rock star. And obviously, she covers one of those topics that is near and dear to me, which is leadership. And it's always so fun to speak to a kindred soul when we got the interview going. So, Amber, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being our special guest today. I'm so excited to have you on. And I want to kick us off with the first question, which is the magic question we ask all our guests. And that is, what do you know now that you wish you had known 20 plus years ago before you got started about leadership? What's the nugget that would have maybe propelled you to a 10x?
Oh, love that. And thank you for the fabulous intro. The first thing that comes to mind for me is I wish I would have known all those years ago that my heart centeredness is not a weakness. And actually, it can serve you in leadership if you just come to understand it. So I grew up sensitive, was empathic, intuitive, but I didn't really understand it. And I just thought there was no place for it. And so I led so much with my strategic mind and my hard work. But in doing that, I was cutting off a lot of my best gifts, which is human connection and that ability to read the room and connect on an emotional level. And so it's that if you're an empathic person or heart-centered and you think it's a weakness, it can actually be a strength in leadership.
That's so good. That's so good. I was just having this very similar conversation with a guest last week. And one of the big things that comes up is oftentimes we get this view that we have to be super masculine. We have to be super go, 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 almost maybe even a little military to get people to move into leadership or to get people to move in general. But the
Yeah.
truth of it is that that's not what everyone is attracted to. Like, we all have to find our flavor of what actually feels good to us and what resonates with us, which is why, yes, you are a fantastic leadership and business development coach. And there's going to be people who really resonate with you that don't resonate with someone like David Goggins, who is very military, in your face, very masculine. And so it's like we can all talk about leadership, we can all talk about business, but it's also about finding that right person to work with that we also feel like, hey, this person speaks to me. I'm open in a way that helps me receive what they're teaching. And so this is, I think, a really great message around, if you're someone who is not that David Goggins personality, or you're not that super militant, like, there's a way to go find a leader who might be more nurturing or who might be softer spoken, because that's something that resonates with you. And at the same time, I think there's room for how we deliver some tough love as well. And so, as
Yes.
we go through and make our choices around who we can work with and who resonates with us, I would love to hear, when we think about things like tough love, because it shows up with our clients, it shows up in those situations. What would you say is your your style when it comes to that? When you see, you, right, you see so clearly, they're not really
Yeah.
seeing it. Like, what's the
Okay.
bridge? How do you bridge the
Okay.
gap?
So this is fun for me because I enjoy learning different people's styles. And as much as I say I'm heart centered, also for me, it's big to deliver feedback to people based on how I perceive that they'll best receive it. So
Mm,
I am like a junkie on understanding people's unique designs. And I kind of just have a really good read on people. And also because I've worked with so many assessments, when I meet people now and I've worked with it for years, I can pretty often nail what's their Enneagram, what's their disc, what's their human design. And because of all these tools that I work with, the way that I will communicate, of course, there's some aspects that are uniquely me that will just not change. But I know, usually I know, are they going to receive it better being direct? Are they going to receive it better if we ease into it? Is it better to ask them a question so that they're really empowered and they're in control of the conversation?
mhm.
So my style is to aim to meet in the middle based on each of our perceptions and how I know that we work together. That also might mean, do I let someone know ahead? Do we schedule a meeting and let them know the agenda ahead of time? I've had team members where they could get really anxious that they didn't know what we were going to discuss, where there was others that were like, just pick up the phone and call me if there's something up, like let's clear the air immediately. So knowing
Right.
someone who needs time to like get ready for the meeting. And so that's how I try to flow, is what do I think is best supportive for that person on the other side?
Love it. Love it. When you're thinking through things like, again, with leadership as a topic here, just because there's such a broad stroke, right? Such a broad
Right.
stroke. What are some of the more common things, maybe like a pitfall or a downfall, that you see happening in so many businesses or with so many CEOs? Like, what's maybe one of the more common ones that shows up?
Ooh, great question. So one and people fall into all different buckets, but one of them is a founder-led business where that owner is really skilled at the service that's delivered, and yet they can get really narrow in being really good at doing the work, that they can struggle to let go of the reins and really embrace the role of CEO, which is to build out the team, and for them to step in the role of being a leader among leaders, of curating that culture. And so they can bottleneck things if they're still the one generating most of the revenue, or if most decisions have to roll through them. Meanwhile, they have a growing team, but then it reaches a point where that team isn't as effective as they could be, or you start to miss the opportunity to build culture because there's no one building it if that
Yes.
owner or founder is so deep in the weeds themselves.
Yep.
And then on the flip of that, you can have a great visionary mind as a leader, and if you are all ideas and struggling with getting support on coaching, consulting, and building the right people in the right seats. So I'm really big on, again, those assessments to understand what are the different strengths and gaps and how you need different people in different seats so that we can get the team, operationally working in a way that it all works together. So it's that sometimes we hire people like us when really we need someone that's different than us.
Yes, yes, I see that so often as well, and it's so fun to jam out with you on this topic because I feel like I definitely see the same things in the businesses that I work with so often is the 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 trouble with letting go, and
Mhm.
meaning they want to see and be a part of everything, but at some point the business gets big enough and there's enough going on that they really can't be in all places all at once. And so
Mhm.
I think it's helping them break through to get to that next level of
Yeah.
where their business is going to go. And so, hey, CEO, if that's you out there, just know that there is a level up for you and it's available for you, but it requires letting go. And I know
Oh,
that's so hard for people to hear. And there's that other side of it, like you said, which is also calling in the right support. When we're interviewing people, we're not looking to interview people that we can sit at the bar and talk to all day. We want to be
mhm.
there and we want to have, think of it like a restaurant. We got to have the people who are out serving the clients. You got to have the guy behind the bar who's taking care of the people at the bar, serving drinks, making people happy. You've got the cook in the back. He's got to be on point doing his job, right? Otherwise, you're running
Yeah.
around to the cook, trying to tell them what to do. Then you're running around to the
Mhm.
servers. Then you're trying to get in customers, and it becomes too hectic. So there is a process, and just know there are fantastic coaches and consultants that have come before you that have built big businesses, even exited them, and can really tell you how to, number one, take some nuggets and make some shortcuts of not having to
Mhm.
learn the hard way every time. It'll save you time, it'll save you money. So, this is where I love the work that you bring into the world, Amber, because it's the work that is needed in so many businesses. And so often, people just don't know either where to go, or they don't know how to ask, or they just haven't resonated with that right coach slash mentor consultant who's going to come in and really see them. And I love that because I believe your gift is the gift of sight. It's the big gift of really
Ah,
seeing who they are and how things are going to operate. And I heard you talk a little bit about human design. And I'm a fan of human design. I also like to find out what are the people that I'm working with and their teams, what is their design? So I'm curious, what is your design?
a projector, emotional projector, 3-5.
Woo!
Uh, so I see the vision. I'm here to kind of live through the trials and tribulations and then prove that I could survive and figure out the way and then guide the way for others to hopefully avoid some of the pain. And my decision making, is different than other people's in that it's riding an emotional wave. It is emotional. So that was huge for me coming
Yeah.
to understand that and stop making myself wrong when sometimes I feel I would know an answer, but yet I would go through this loop of like doubting myself and need to talk it
Mm,
out 5 different ways with 5 different people. And then once I
yeah.
learned that that is what helps me make my decision, I could stop making myself wrong for it. So, okay, but I want to know yours too.
So good. It's so good. Yes, you're speaking my language because I'm also a projector. And so
Makes sense. So much
yes,
alignment.
I'm a 6'2" emotional projector.
Okay.
And yes, and I want to talk to the emotion. So for what I'll say first is for those of you who are like, what is human design? Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. I like to
You're
describe it as almost
welcome, and I'm sorry that we just
you're
introduced that.
That's right. You're welcome. Exactly. You're welcome. And I'm sorry. Yes, because it's going to tell you so much about yourself. And you can go look up your chart for free, y'all. You can literally Google human design, and there's charts out there. And you pop in your birth name, your birth time, your birthplace, and what am I missing?
Oh, that's it.
Birth date, birth time, place,
Your time and the location.
location. That's right, location. And then it'll spit you out what you are, and it'll give you a little blurb and a summary. But even better than that, um, so the reason I'm talking about it is because I have, again, just like Amber, we've been doing this for over 20 years. We've been in the leadership space, we've been consulting businesses, and of all of the assessments out there, and there are so many, but of all of them out there, I have to say that once I landed on human design, I was shook. I was shook at how accurate
I
it was.
agree.
I was shook because I could look back and connect the dots and go, oh my gosh, all of this has been so true of my life already. It's as if somebody was watching my life and they were like, oh, by the way, this wish would have
Mhm.
given you this 20 years ago, but now that you've got it, have a look and see what's accurate and what's not. And it was so accurate in how I operate and how I operate best. And I like to think of it as it's a great little blueprint for how you can nurture your own personal development and business development and who you are, and really just optimize. It really is like
Mhm.
an optimization blueprint for life. If you want it. If you want it. Like you can keep
You
doing
want it.
what you're
Yep.
doing, but if you want to optimize, it's a really beautiful
Mhm.
blueprint. So I am a, like I said, 6'2" projector. I'm also here to have experiences, and then I'm called to go sit with them for a while and then come back and share the wisdom that I learned from having those experiences.
Mm.
And it's amazing. It's amazing. It's one of those really, really, it's a gift. It's a gift to learn and know that you can be seen and heard, and how that, what does that look like and how does it translate to others. And then also when I can learn about someone else's design and see what they
Mhm.
are and how they operate. And I want to go back to the emotion, the conversation we are having about kind of the emotional intelligence and the almost, let's call it the spidey senses, y'all, because everyone has heard the word, oh, what do my spidey senses say? And some of you who are on the way woo side are like, what is my spirit guide saying? What is going on inside? And then there's other of you that are like, my practical, logical mind is saying this, but my gut says. And there's
Yeah.
lots of you out there who are literally, you can put, when you think of your thoughts, you go, I feel them in my gut. My gut is
Mhm.
telling me yes or no. I met this person and I already knew that something was up, or I met this person and wow, like I really resonated with them. They were a full body yes. So when you hear that, what you're hearing us say is we're using our intuition. And y'all, our intuition, it's a thing, it's a gift. And too many times we're not tapped into it. And so when you get to work with someone like Amber, you get to learn and watch someone who is so tapped in actually go there and
Mhm.
deliver some wisdom for you, because she's tapped into your energy also of
Yeah.
understanding what is happening and what's going on. She's able to see between the lines. That's the gift. The gift is to see between the lines. So the gaps that you may have, this is where you're going to get to fill those gaps. And so when we talk about the emotional side of things, how do we help others understand, Amber? How do we help them understand how to also listen to that still small voice inside? How do we help them tap into their intuition when they're not used to using it, when they're used to all this
Mhm.
data and logic, and that's just cut and dry, right? Like some people come to it with a very cut and dry, and other people just don't trust the little voice inside. So, what
Oh,
advice do we
yeah.
have for those folks?
Yes, I love this. Okay, a few things. So, through the perspective of human design, if people are open to that, no, just understanding how our decision making speaks to us is different for each person. And I have found it is amazingly accurate for people that if you are a sacral gut decision maker, like you can trust your gut. And I have time and time again with clients, now I can coach them in that way to invite them, what does your gut say? And then they have their answer. Other people, it's something that they just know in the moment. And some people, they need to trust that initial reaction because if they don't, they will actually put themselves in a spiral. Whereas
Mm,
for me, being emotional is recognizing that I may feel that I know the answer and it's normal that I need to feel it out for several days. And for me, I've learned that feeling it like 70 to 80% is a yes. It's not often going to be a gut 100%, but it's just like a knowing that's there. So that's one of the first things is if I can connect with, well, what is this person, how they feel something in their body? What's their aligned decision making? But then it's the actual part of getting them to feel in their body. So I was a person who existed most of my life from the head up. So I think it's
mm,
like so fun and wild that this is me today because I am just like 5 years ago, I didn't have this awareness
Mm.
where what used to happen was I was literally thinking my way through everything. And a lot of things started to shift when I started to work with a transformational coaches who would invite me to breathe into my body and actually feel my body. And I would realize it was like the only time in days that I had sat and actually felt myself breathe. And they'd say, now like drop your shoulders and breathe into the feeling of your feet. Notice them touching the ground. And this might sound so simple, but this is one of the things I do with clients to help them get into their body is like actually taking a pause where we breathe and we notice where we notice it.
Yeah.
Not thinking about it, but saying, no, do you feel breathing out in your belly? You can put your, I'm a singer too, so I know how to do that, right? You put your hands in your belly. If you breathe in, your belly poofs out. And it really is, that's part of the coming down and calming our nervous system. And it sounds so simple, and yet it is transformative to
Yes.
start
Yes. And yes.
recognizing when we're getting way too up in here.
Yes, absolutely. And so part of what Amber is talking about, y'all, is she is talking about regulating your nervous system and getting it to a point where you are not overthinking, because that's what so many of us do, overthinkers. And then there's also those that aren't motivated or aren't moving at all. Getting into our body helps us reset and helps bring everything to this nice state of just being, to where we're not so busy in our minds, where we're not translating that into our body and our gut, but just getting in a really centered place so that we actually can tap in and feel.
Mhm.
You've heard so many guests on my show and me talk about breath work. And we would think that the art of breathing is something that everybody should know, but unfortunately, not everybody is really tapped into their breath. It's one of those, a great example for y'all is when you have ever seen, we'll say every one of you have done this, but it's best seen sometimes in children when they're crying and crying like really like full tantrum. They go right. They do this whole thing where they hold their breath. They're actually not breathing, and so that breath when it comes out in this really like frazzled
You mean
way.
that's
And
just kids? I feel I
just
used
kids. It's
to,
only
I used
kids.
to.
Adults, we never do that.
Ah,
I
yes.
know. But
Mm,
the being able to do that, and then the other one is just even just movement, getting into your body, like moving your body around and just allowing that energy to flow and sometimes move out of you. And these emotions, when they show up, y'all, they want to come out. And so many
mhm.
times they get pressed down. And when they
Yeah.
get pressed down, that means we're suppressing them in the body. And then we wonder why we get sick. We wonder why aches and pains show up in these crazy ways that they shouldn't be showing up. And
Mhm,
there is a solution for that. And it's not always the physical external things that ail
mm,
us. It's actually more often those internal things. It's the mental gymnastics that we're constantly putting our brain through and our emotions through. So it's being able to get to that quiet space and tap in, just tap in. And it's a good
yeah.
practice.
And and I think a lot of this for a lot of people is also unpacking trauma. And
Yes.
because that's really a lot of the what shows up for
Yeah.
people that don't know, if we don't know how to trust ourselves or we don't know how to feel something, a lot of times it's a protective mechanism. It's completely rooted in, we've all been exposed to different things in the way that we were raised, and
Yes.
that has beautiful outcomes and results, but it can also have unconsciously sometimes the way that now we're behaving that works for us until it no longer does. And
Right.
so that's a lot of what I see in leadership is the things that are starting to come up as barriers and defaults and patterns that are no longer working is starting to unpack the belief set around that so that
Mm-hmm.
we can really get to the root of if that was actually something, again, from childhood, if there was this expectation of, kids don't talk back, we're quiet, we obey, so that could stifle someone's voice because they think that they're meant to be quiet, take the back seat, or any set
Right.
of ways that we've been raised and belief sets that we have.
Oh, it's so good. We are going to talk more about trauma, but before we do that, we are going to take a quick commercial break. We will be right back.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
All right. Welcome back from the break, everyone. I've got my guest, Amber Swenor, a transformational leadership and business coach here today. She is, again, the founder of Soul Seed, which is a heart-centered, just a heart-centered business, and she's just a heart-centered human. She's also a author, a speaker, and a rock star musician. So much wisdom we're dropping today on leadership and trauma. I just want to remind all of you that at any point during the live show, you can call in your questions live. You can also use the chat feature. So that number, if you want to call in, is 1-866-451-1451. And again, if you're streaming live from the YouTube channel or the Facebook channel, you can also drop your questions down for us in the chat, and those will pop through to us over here so that we can get your questions answered. I also want to make a quick note.
I hope someone calls because that feels really fun because not a lot of shows are live. So I think that is a really cool perk that you offer.
Yes. Yes, I agree as well. It's very, very fun when folks call in and have questions because, hey, they're getting free coaching and consulting right now when it comes to anything that's going on. And so, what a beautiful opportunity, especially for those of you who are in those leadership positions and feel like, hey, like things are not going the way that I need them to go and they don't feel good. And so, come get a question answered, come get some words of wisdom. Now, what we were talking about before the break is we were talking about how trauma plays into how we can show up. And so with that, Amber, I thought you gave some great examples of like how, how we respond to things when we were maybe how something happened to us when we were younger and how we end up responding to it and how that kind of sits in the body and we end up carrying that with us. How do people identify whether something they're doing is a trauma response? Do you have a tip for folks in terms of like what might show up to give them a little signal that, hey, like this isn't fully normal. Like you learned how to be this way. You learned how to be anxious. You learned how to XYZ.
That's a really good question. If you're feeling anxiety around something and like It says can be difficult to pinpoint, but there's a part of you that knows that it is the path you want to go. Like you play this mind trick thing with yourself. You know you want to do a thing and you feel it's for you, but that yet there's this constant voice and anxiety feeling. And it's like this flip flopping thing back and forth, and you can't quite explain it. That's how it shows up for some people.
Mhm.
Because often what's happening is there's a reason that there's other story running that keeps triggering this anxiety and this self doubt, which I think we all have to a certain degree. But if we are raised with the tools for emotional regulation and nervous system regulation and healthy communication tools, we often know how to talk ourselves through it or ask for the right support. But if we aren't given that foundation, we can sometimes keep ourselves in this anxiety riddled self sabotaging cycle. And so it's recognizing that like when we seem like we're at war with ourselves and we don't want to be.
Right. That's right. Ooh, that's such a good way to put it. When we feel like we are at war with ourselves. Y'all, how many times have you been at war with yourself?
Mm,
Whether that's your thoughts and how you speak to yourself. Are you speaking words of war to yourself? Are you speaking words of peace? Are you feeling the warring in your body, or are you feeling
yeah,
peaceful in your body?
yeah,
When you are creating stories about what's happening, are they stories of, I got this, I can do this, we're going to figure this out? Or are they stories of, I can't do this, I'm not capable, I'm not good enough? Because this
yeah,
is the internal struggle of,
yeah.
am I warring or am I peace? And, there's one piece of this that I have to mention, and I have to mention it to you all from the eyes of a child because so many of you are parents. And I say this not because I'm a parent, but because I am a child of a mother who nurtured me so good. And she nurtured me so good in those formative years of my life. And those are the years from about 1 to about 5. She's always nurtured me, but let's go with the 1 to 5 because those are the really really important years, because those are the years we are really learning to human. We have come into this world, we know nothing, we instantly quickly learn that, oh, there's this other entity and it's going to feed me, change me. When I cry, it's going to pick me up. But more than that, when the act of holding your child like close to you, skin to skin, speaking loving words, even when you're pregnant, for all of you moms and dads out there, even during that phase of just even rubbing the belly and talking to your future child and the feelings that you feel while you're in that state, all of those things come into play. And some of
Right.
you are like, wait, what? But I can tell you that
Yeah.
this is the truth.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when you nurture and encourage and let your children know that they're safe, they end up growing up to be adults that understand that, like, oh, I'm safe. They don't walk
Yes.
into a room and automatically feel like they're not safe, right? There's not an instant anxiety because there's nothing to be anxious about. They're already safe in the world, safe in their body, safe in who they are. And this piece is so important. And I honestly don't know why there aren't more parenting classes and more resources when we are in these, beginning stages of life, to just help us teach and learn this, because it really helps us as adults. And the other kind of magic around this is, and I can share this from just my own testament, is my parents divorced when I was about 5, and it was crazy after that. It was like we were poor. My mom was a single mom, worked 2 jobs. I was a latchkey kid, home alone a lot. But those things didn't matter as much because I had those first 5 years of a lot of nurture and safety. And so I could feel seen and heard. So even
Mhm.
though the childhood was rough and very, a mountain hike of Everest to climb as you're going on your ups and downs, I had the resources and the tools because the nurture was so strong and because my mom spoke life into me in those very early ages. And
Yeah.
so I want to just bring that up because some of you are like, oh my gosh, why do I do what I do? Or why do I think the way I think? And oftentimes we can go back, and it's in looking back, again, connecting those dots and see what happened to you in your past. So it's not what's wrong with you, it's what
Right.
actually happened to you. And
Yep.
so it's remembering that. And that's even on my own journey been one of those big things where I just go, why do I feel safe in my body? Why do I
Mm.
feel like I can speak up? And why do I have confidence? I was like, oh, because my mom really instilled all of these gifts for me as a child by just fully loving me and really instilling that in me, so that when I did get a little older and now I had to start making my own decisions in the world, I made them from a safe and healthy place versus one of a lot of
Yes.
fear and anxiety and like, oh, something, is the tiger going to jump out of the bushes? It's like, no, there's no tiger in the bushes for me. Like I'm not living in that world, but I do understand that sometimes that's what happens. Right. And
Yeah.
even it's just such a big one to watch how people show up and to you can almost get some insight right into maybe what childhood stuff they went through.
Well, yes. And I think it's important what you're speaking to for people to not beat ourselves up so hard about it. For people, if
Yeah.
we are struggling with something,
Right.
because it might come from somewhere that we just don't fully understand yet. And this crosses over sometimes when we're doing leadership work with companies where it can be supportive for people to explore something in counseling therapy or in with a coach. And sometimes we're able to address it in transformational coaching by at least having an awareness of it. Another tool I utilize is Enneagram, which we use in leadership, but it helps touch on some of those psychological factors of how we developed and how those formative years impact us as leaders.
Yes.
And so I think that's just so important for all of us as leaders. We're all humans. And, and even just walking around, engaging with each other, and as we work with our teams, recognizing that we all have an inner child. And so
Yes.
you've got to get business done, and sometimes we started the conversation, sometimes you've got to have tough love. And if we can have empathy to recognize that within us is all still a small child, being considerate of that in how we do business can go a long way, and in helping to bring the best out of someone or helping them move forward with just being mindful that we have leaders. We have the ability to help people step up and step forward into their light, or we can shut them down
Yes.
more. and
That's right.
and that's why it's important for both parties to be doing their work. That's why culture building, it's not just like some hoorah rah, like we said we did it thing. No, like
Mhm.
actual team development and culture building is looking at the real stuff of like what's coming up for people. Why are they afraid to speak up? Or
Yes.
what does help us excel in our role? And everyone sometimes needs something different based on what makes them feel safe, what makes them feel
Yes.
included, what makes them feel like they can speak up and share their ideas. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes to all of that. Yes to all of that. I think one of the part of the work that we do as in this seat, in this advisory guidance seat,
Mm,
is really helping our clients see who they really are,
yeah.
let them actually feel like they can show up and be honest about where they're at and what's going on, and that
Yeah.
it's a safe space for them to do that in. Right? So that's so much
Mhm.
of it is almost like a counseling seat of, okay, let me be a listener right now, and then let me share with them what is a next step might look like, or what's a good question that they can go think about or journal on, or really start to challenge themselves on some of these core beliefs that might be showing up, that are beliefs that might be holding them back because they're taking with them old traumas, or they're taking with them, again, the overthinking, the mental gymnastics. It's like, okay, how do we help them get to
Yeah.
that centered place where they can start making these powerful decisions? Because I'm sure your clients, as well as the ones I've worked with, they're amazing humans. They are powerhouses. And so,
Absolutely.
and so often they can't even recognize that fully in themselves because they are still out there trying to prove themselves, when it's like, oh honey, like just how you show up is already like a testament in the world, like just be who you be.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, one of the more beautiful parts of doing the work. I know it's the part that I love the most, is being able to really see my people and just
Mhm.
be there for all of things that happen. And I don't know if you have this experience. I know that I see it often, but it's the one where if they've got stuff going on in business, it's often also reflected somewhere in their personal life too.
Oh yeah. It all flows.
Yeah.
Even when
Yes.
some people say, "Oh no, it's compartmentalized," like sometimes they're almost like faking something to themselves, and then that's withholding, and that has this
Yes.
unhealthy spiral thing too.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I had one of my past clients was in a relationship he'd been in since like for a long time, like since school time. And now he's in his mid 30s, still in the relationship, and has wanted to be out of it for a long time, but also felt like he was so, like, it's been such a long time, right? I mean, that span of time is just like being, it's like being married when you're with the same person for all these years, especially through your growing up years, because you're watching each other kind of shift and flow. And then once he got to fully kind of come into who he is, he was like, this isn't the relationship that I want. And I was like, well, what's keeping you from having the conversation? And he's like, well, what my mom might think, what her family's going to think,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, wow. So what other people think is what's keeping you in a place where
That
you're
is
not
such
aligned.
one of the
Yes, right?
biggest
It's
ones.
it's such a big one. And
Ooh,
I said, hey, you know what? It's better to have a hard conversation now, because it's just going to be a harder conversation later. And the more that you let this go on, your mom, she loves you. And she may even try to talk you into staying. She may give you all the of her own reasons of why she would stay. Or maybe by being radically honest, she may go, yeah, I never thought she was quite right for you, but I didn't want to stir the pot. Or you've been with her for so long, I didn't want to say anything. Like, we
Mhm.
never know until we actually put the truth out there. And it's
Mhm.
interesting because when it comes to business, the reflection I could give is that he often was really terrible at following up on late invoices, or when clients wouldn't pay. And literally, it
I'm
would be like,
guessing is it that he oh,
yeah, go,
afraid of
please
their
guess.
reaction, didn't wanna, like, be a burden or didn't was afraid of
That's
their
right.
reaction
Didn't
or
want to bother, didn't want to bother
wanna
any, didn't want to hurt.
bother.
He's like, oh, they have plenty of money. They'll pay because they always do. But
Yeah.
what was happening is these invoices would stack and stack. And I was like, just call them and have the conversation. Just send them a message and say, hey, what's going on right now? Can we help you with maybe a little more of
Yeah,
a payment plan? I was
yeah,
like, because then these this would always sneak up and become a bigger issue later.
right.
And this is where I just go,
We are
man,
who we
I mean,
are, we be who we be, even at home,
yes,
at work, whether it's the avoidance or jumping to
yes,
conclusions or whatever, right? You name
yes.
it.
Yes, and I always said, man, he has so much grace in his business because making great money. Thank God for all the other customers who are paying on time, but for the few that didn't, like, those invoices would stack. And I thought, how interesting that you can sort of just look the other way for a little while and go, oh, well, they'll pay because we're giving them great results, we're doing all the things. And I would just shake my head and go, no, like, just have the conversation. There's either there is just an accounting error here, or there might be a little bit of an integrity issue. There's lots
Mhm.
of things that could be showing up. And this is a great opportunity to also continue to build your relationship with your clients through, the ebbs and flows that may happen in business. But if you don't say anything, then
Yeah,
you're just avoid it. You're just hoping, that they'll continue. Like, what if they're just hoping that you'll forget? You
yeah,
keep doing the work. And so this is where I go, wow, the parallels, it's interesting to watch and go, I can spot this. And there's a trauma
yep,
somewhere in there of not wanting to rock the boat, wanting to be, the pleaser. And I think that's a really big one. And so let's talk a little bit about people pleasing, because I think that is
oh,
also
yeah,
can
it's a big
be a
one.
trauma response. But here's what I want to know. What would you say is the line, right? Because there's the I love you and I care about you and I want to do stuff for you or take care of you. And then there's the other side of
Mhm.
it where, yes, all of those things, but also like I do it, I overdo it. Like where would you say is that
I
line?
think one way to think of it is, are you being generous because it feels good and values aligned, or are you doing it to seek worth,
Mm.
to try to get
Mm.
love?
Yes. Yes, that's so good. Are you doing it to get worth because you're feeling that empty feeling of like you need
Yeah,
something to fill that hole, or are you doing just from a place of genuine aligned generosity? I
yeah,
like that. That's a really really great way to look at it. I hope y'all heard that because it's a good one. Think about the last time. So many times I hear this especially in women, which is I'm always giving, I'm always doing, and I'm
uh,
running around giving and doing, and my tank is so empty.
yes. So in my book, I call this toxic generosity. And it's
Mm,
when we think we're being generous or the martyr or the signing up for all the things, but it becomes toxic when exactly what you just said.
yeah,
And it could be even coordinating the friends trip, volunteering for something at school, serving on boards that, and it
yeah,
doesn't mean that there's not a part of you that maybe wants to do it, but you don't have capacity or you don't love it anymore or you need to be getting paid for it. And
yeah.
so it's really no longer being generous in an aligned way. It's become toxic if you're resentful.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's the place to look and like give ourselves permission to put ourselves in the driver's seat with, if it's really not filling up one of your value cups or your joy tank or your money tank, it's okay to let it go.
That's right. That's right. It's okay to let it go. It's okay to say no. It's okay to go back and change your mind. I think
Yeah.
this is the one that is the practice. It's the practice of it. If you overcommitted to something and you can no longer do it or no longer want to do it, just tell the truth. Just
Yes.
tell the truth. And
Yes.
there's a way to word it that's
Yeah.
kind. There's a way to word it that honors both parties. There's a way to express
Right.
yourself
And that,
and
right, that could
leave
even be an
it.
offboarding period. Like you don't just drop a project if you feel like, hey, I want to see this to closure, then maybe it's a month, 3 months, 6 months. Like you can, but you still move that into motion because what happens then, right, is sometimes they avoid, and then a health crisis happens, or we lose our
Yes.
temper, or we start dropping balls and letting people down and hurting our reputation, even though we didn't want
Yep.
to do that.
Yep. So true. So, so true. I want to talk about your book.
Okay.
We mentioned it, and I want to let everyone know that Amber's been so generous. If you don't have Audible, you can get a free trial, and she's given us the codes for that. We've dropped those into the show notes. So please definitely grab her book and listen to it, or hop on and just buy it and read it. Also, her gift for you all today is a beautiful self retreat workbook called Uncover Your Dreams. Amber, what can they expect from the workbook?
Ooh, it's the best self connection journey. So if
Hmm.
you're at a point of transformation, seeking to reignite a spark for what are you passionate about, if you're in a career transition, thinking about starting a business or making a shift in business, and
Mhm.
it really helps you look internally, really defining what are your values now, what do you feel your purpose and mission is in life, what brings you joy, what's your zone of genius. And it's by doing that self-reflection work that we can often bring more joy and ease into our life, because the workbook will also help you recognize what you're hanging on to that quite frankly you don't need to anymore. Like what is coming off the plate. A lot of us don't need more. We
Yeah.
actually need to give ourselves permission to let some things go. And I don't just
Yeah.
mean physical things, but I mean energetically, the things we don't always realize we're hanging on to, that's taking up our mind space.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And yes. So enjoy that free give today, y'all. Take advantage of it. Do some self reflecting. And, because we're all leaders. We're not where some of you may say, "Oh, I'm just in the stands watching," or "I'm just over here doing that." Don't minimize yourself because you know what? We're all leaders in our own way. We're at the end of the day, we're leaders of our life. we are our leader. We're pointing in those directions and figuring out what this is and where we're going and what we're doing. So just know that this gives you an opportunity to really tap into your own self-leadership skills. And for many of you, those leadership skills will, of course, expand into your work and your community and your life, because in one way, shape, or form, I feel like we all get into a place of leadership, again, in some way, shape, or form. And with that, all of you, again, if you want to get in touch with Amber today, please check out the show notes or the comments. Pop down into that comment section. You're going to see all the ways to get the goods. We also have a beautiful bonus session for you over at the Mad Love Your Life Show YouTube channel. And if you catch that one, there just might be another free gift there. Amber's incredibly generous. And Amber, thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. And thank you for just being a rock star guest. And by the way, we do talk more about her rock star life over there on the extended version. So enjoy that. Leave us some likes and comments, and please share. Like, there's someone that you know needs to hear this message. They need to be blessed by the information here today. We want to give it to them. So the best way to do that is to like and share. With that, Amber, again, thank you so much for being just a rock star guest. You are a rock star, even if you didn't, hop up on stage with a microphone and belt your heart out. So thank you for that. And for all of you, until next time, may abundance always walk beside you. May joy always go before you. And may love always guide you on your path. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. We air live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Bold Brave TV. We hope to see you back next week. For more ways to connect with my guests, content, programs, and retreats, just head over to www.marydee.com and subscribe. That's MARYDEE.com.